What's going on, ladies and gents? It's your boy Darth with another late Queensblade Limit Break video. I am finally getting around to doing an overview of the brand new ultra rare skill attribute warrior. It's the very first ultimate rare warrior we have. I did a video where I talked about what ultra rare warriors we're going to introduce, and it was a new damage type, hopefully a new breed of skills, combat skills, passives, and things like that. We'll have to wait to see because we only have one. So, man, global warming at work is just kicking my butt. It's proving its point. I work outside. I'm exhausted. But let's get into this. This is an overview of the first ultra rare warrior. She looks sick. She is a little Amazonian, I guess, princess. She is sick. Very cool looking. Her axe just makes me afraid of doing battle with her, for serious. Her spicy pose, though, always taking the cake. I mean, it speaks for itself. We got water, we got a sexy anime gal in water, we got num-nums, and we got sassy hair. Speaks for itself. You should pick up the spicy pose just on those principles alone. Alright, so it is what it is. Let's go take a look at her skills here real quick. Her passive, alright, attack, nothing serious, 50%, HP 30%, great. SP warriors get that. Crit rate plus 20%, alright. But she does introduce a new skill, which the animation doesn't make sense. I would like to see the animation change, but we'll talk about that in a second. At the start of turn, the warrior gets 4 stacks of Tailwind, and other allies get 2 stacks. 4-turn cooldown. At first I thought this was going to be OP as Vegeta balls. She's got a 4-turn cooldown. Kudos actually to the devs for doing that. A case could be made to reduce this to 2 or 3, but I don't want to talk about that until I've had more time to test her out in certain scenarios. Tailwind basically increases the owner's speed and attack by 3% for each Tailwind, guys. So, she can buff. She's not just a DPS warrior, okay? She can buff speed and attack of all warriors. That's actually kind of cool. Not only that, but when receiving damage that exceeds 30% of max HP from a single attack, she'll consume any ally with Tailwind, by the way. Consumes an attack and reduces the damage by a whopping 40%. No, I do not agree with that, okay? I don't agree with that. She kind of reminds me in this regard, if you know anything about Break is the technical DPSers of the group, always has been until recently, in that a lot of their main warriors have inherent damage reduction. Like Spicy Pirate, I believe her exceeding 30%, she'll nullify the damage. She's an all-out DPSer with inherent damage reduction. Well, this actually does that. And not only that, but she's a DPS. She's not a mage. Mages generally provide a lot of support to their team instead of self-buffing or debuffs on the enemy. Cool. All right, whatever. But a whopping 40%, and that's on top of any other damage reductions. Now, damage reduction works differently. If you have 40% damage reduction, it'll reduce it by 40, and then if you have another 30% damage reduction, it'll reduce that by 30, and so forth. Can't get 100% damage reduction. It doesn't work that way. So, Tailwind, very, very cool. She grants it to herself. She buffs herself up, attack up, okay, speed up. And that speed up is very important for how the warrior actually works. Has the game been loading a lot for you guys like this? What's going on? Anyways, turn 1 deals 120 physical damage to all enemies. Alright. 2-turn cooldown, turn 1. Always hits targets with lower speed than yourself. Basically what that means is I want to say that this has to do with evasion. She will always hit a target. You can't evade the attack, which is actually kind of cool mechanic when you think about it. I'm a big proponent of evasion. A lot of people sleep on that skill. Stop sleeping on it. And yes, I know it doesn't apply to debuff damage. Don't care. Lower speed than yourself. She ignores 30% crit resist and 30% breach resist. Breach is another defense ignorer. If I understood it correctly, breach helps further reduce your defense, which we do not need, guys. Defense, you cannot completely build warriors around defense. They gotta around ignoring defense. Otherwise, you're just completely... Eventually, we're going to get to warriors who just completely ignore defense altogether. What's the point? I don't like that. Breach resistance should actually be down around 10%. It doesn't need to be 30%, the way that I'm looking at it there. I do not like that. The Primordial active, it's an active skill, 4-turn cooldown, triggers on turn 2, removes immobilization, alright, cool, and immediately grants 4 Tailwind to herself. She'll deal 140% physical damage to all enemies, always hits targets with lower speed than her, keeping the whole theme of ignoring evasion, ignoring 30% crit resist and breach damage, basically doing more damage because you're ignoring the defense. If the user has a higher speed than the enemy, though, or if she has a higher speed than the enemy, she'll consume 3 Tailwinds in the same maneuver and deal 210% instead of 140%. That's actually pretty good because keep in mind, she's hitting every enemy. This is not for a warrior, she is not a single target DPS, okay? She is hitting every enemy with all her attacks. So she's doing really good damage AoE. With the crit resist and things like that, and buffing herself up and teammates, and buffing her own speed. Fourth, it's a passive. This one's kind of weird in the way that it reads. She is the first to attack. If she's the first to attack among your allies, she'll consume a Tailwind. Does not trigger if she doesn't have Tailwinds. Deals additional fixed damage of 60% of the attack to the target. Of her attack, I want to say, is how it reads. And then for each 1% difference in speed, the fixed damage actually goes up. This is an AoE attack. If you're confused about how it reads, from what I was seeing, this is an AoE attack. She'll go in, and if she's the first to attack, right, it doesn't say she's attacking anyone specifically or directly. It just says if she's the first to attack, she'll deal 60% of her attack to the target. This is an AoE attack. She does that to anybody. Okay, if she's the first to attack, she will go in and deal 60% fixed damage to all enemies. I don't like that. I don't like that. They need to change the wording on this. Otherwise, obtain 1 Tailwind after attacking this turn. So, Tailwind can be stacked up to 8 times. Yeah, anyways. Now, the bread and butter of this warrior here is the ultra rare skill that unlocks at 10-star rank, level 100 instead of 81. Basically, if the enemy speed is lower, at the beginning of every turn, she'll do wind damage attack to all enemies. And this is a very cool animation. She calls down the heavens and it does this nice little animation down. And again, for every 1% difference in speed, she increases the attack all the way up to 100%. And grants allies wind attribute damage of negative 20%. So, since she's the only warrior out here, the only one doing wind attribute damage, she actually has an additional skill doing damage, not only to AoE, but also to single targets. Now, that brings me to both aspects. Is she good on both single target and multi-target? I think because of the way they built her, she can put out a lot of damage even on a single target. I don't think she is the best single target DPS out there compared to some SP warriors, both AoE, BNL, and single target destroyers. No, I don't think that she can compete on single target bosses. On AoE damage, I think she's going to be one of the strongest number-wise. Can she put pressure on the enemy? I don't think so. I don't think she can put pressure on the enemy any different than BNL and a few of the other warriors. That's my opinion. You're going to see big numbers. Okay, just because she has big numbers doesn't mean that she does a lot of damage. If you can hit 5 targets as opposed to 1, of course you're going to do more damage. The fact that she's a warrior and hitting all enemies all the time, yeah, she can really stack up the damage even on single target. Now, I did take her into one of the hardest bosses in the game currently, and these are event bosses. Okay, I took her into this gal right here, and here's the damage numbers. Now you can't compete with. I don't think she has the wherewithal to compete long term when you have Ariana in the group with warriors like the hair here. 9-star gear, no 9-star, no gear, and no spicy pose unlocked. She did 121 million damage. She is not the best at going in and applying those poison debuffs, which is the meta right now when it comes to boss damage. I'll talk more about that in a new video. She did 121 million damage with no gear on. Now, don't get that twisted. The reason I go in there and don't use gear is because I have passives built up over time in the game that makes my warriors probably stronger than some of yours. 9-star warrior with no gear on, my attack is 1.2 million damage, okay? I want it to be a fair test. The only part that she's missing is defense. She's missing a ton of defense, so she doesn't survive. But I put her in there with Bloom on the attack. So Bloom actually goes in and... Oh, I can't change. But I put her in there with Blooms because Bloom resurrects her. And then she can heal to full health and continue to battle. So she did get a resurrection, and she did 121 million damage with no gear on. Now, all that means is that there's no defense. And I wanted to try to do a damage comparison to the average user. There's nothing I can do. I can't disable certain passives I have to have a 1.2 million attack on a warrior that doesn't have gear on or jewels. So I wanted it to be as close as possible. That's not a bad number, but understanding the meta that people are using Ariane to buff multi-attackers in a phase is your best option when it comes to boss damage. Doesn't mean she's not good at boss damage. It just means that you would have to put her up against people. You have to take Ariane out and put her up against the major DPSs. Who are the major DPSs? Spicy Pirate, Yeyu Jubei. Okay, people like that. She needs to go up against those warriors in order to figure out if she's the best. She's not going to compete with meta PvP warriors either. I'm talking about Ultimate Tomo, and I don't even think she can keep up with Ruella. Okay, I'll have damage numbers on that, and I'll talk about Ruella in a separate video. Anyways, guys, I don't think you need to go all out. Just because she's the new hotness does not mean you need to pull and go all out. For Spicy Pose, I'm doing my standard 200. I got 7 days. I'm using a lot of gems to summon for her. I'm going to unlock her Spicy Pose, maybe even more. I have her at 9-star. I'm about to get her. I'm about to get one, and I will get another one. So I'll end up with anywhere between a 10 and an 11-star, just with a few book pulls and gems. I don't think that that's a bad place to be. I do not think that she is critical to be at 12-star. Even to get the, unlock, why does my BNL not have a 12-star? These are 11 and 12-star skill unlocks. I don't think that it's critical that you have these, but it does make a difference if you're using gems and, runes. I think it does make a bit of difference if you, depend upon what skill sets that you use here, so it is going to increase her damage or her potential if you use them. So keep that in mind as well. It's not critical that you have her at that level, though. PvP, some people are liking her. I do not like her in PvP, even with that speed buff bonus. Okay, that's just me. You're going to have to tell me how she's performing in PvP, because I've done a few tests, didn't like her. Went right back to my meta team. You know, Ultimate Tomo, B-Nanel, and things like that. I don't think she's game-breaking for either one of them currently, just because she's the new hotness. Her skills are flashy, she's got an awesome Spicy Pose, but outside of that, I think she's above the rest, above average, above most of the even SP warriors that we have in terms of damage, but that's mainly because of the breach resist, the crit resist, and things like that. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe. Provide that feedback. Are you using her in PvP? I want to know if she smacks and if she is a terror compared to some of these other warriors. That's it, guys. I'll see you in the next one.